ESPN had their way too early preseason top 25 out this past week, Bob, and Tennessee dropped all the way out of the top 25. I mean, obviously, they throw a lot of weight into the whole Nico drama that we just went through. Is that I mean, is that legit though, or do you think it's overreaction?
Well, I understand why people would think that, and there's reasons for that. But I think there's some real reason for optimism when you look at the whole team. Now, there's a lot of players that has to step up, that has to take a step. Where I think overall, maybe Josh Heupel's most talented team overall from the bottom of the roster to the top. But I think there's a lot of guys that need to make jumps this year, more so than normal.
Yeah, talent on paper, but it's not yet. A lot of it's young. It's very, very young.
There's reason to think that they will do stuff. It ain't just blind hope, but I think there's reasons to believe that some of these guys will do good. So what we're going to talk about today is a little bit, why should we have some optimism about this season? What position groups could be better on this team that could be just as good or not better? Well, Tim, let's start on the defensive side. Let's start at the back end. Um, you basically lost, Will Brooks at safety.
Well, and then transferred out the rest of the safety group just about.
Yeah, a lot of backups.
But honestly, though, I mean, that was probably the weak spot on the defensive backfield last year was the safety play. We got tremendous cornerback play last year.
We did, yeah, with Gibson McCoy.
Yeah, and we got a young, tremendous young star player. But the safety spot, was probably the weakest spot in the secondary.
Yeah. Brooks,
some help coming up.
You're going to miss Brooks from a mental standpoint. Athletically, Farouk is an upgrade. You got Turrentine back. Luke Carter's second year in the system, who's a player who I feel like could be a star. I mean, we've talked about him so much, but him as a true freshman, we probably expected too much out of him. I do expect a lot more out of him this year. That could be a player that makes a big jump.
Yeah, I'll be honest about it. That's one player on the team I would be shocked that doesn't make a big jump in his play.
And then you get the Colorado transfer Hood, who wasn't on the team obviously last year, but he could just solidify that group there.
Well, he gives them a lot of versatility to slide people around.
Yeah.
Because it's going to allow him coming in, allows McMurray, who's been playing some safety, I believe it is, to slide over to safety or star. I'm sorry, he plays that star.
Yeah.
And Beasley, who we've loved since the day he signed with us.
Yeah.
He's been trying to split his time between star and safety. Now he can go full bore at safety. He might push Farouk for that starting spot.
Yeah, him or Turrentine, because I feel like you don't move Beasley from corner at a spot that we was thin at to safety unless you feel like he's got real star ability at that spot. Well, let's drop down the linebacker town. We basically, our top three guys is back. I mean, I feel like.
Because you couldn't count Peely. I mean.
Right. Well, Peely missed, what?
At least half the season.
Yeah.
And then pretty much all the season before. I think he's a heck of a ball player.
Absolutely.
Heck of a young man.
Right.
But we ended that year without him. So.
Right. And you got Carter, who I expect to make a jump this year. He's had the talent. He's kind of like a Boo Carter kind of situation.
Yeah, a little bit older, a little bit more playing time. And I don't think he's going to take the jump Boo Carter's going to take.
No, I don't think so either. But he could.
But Ernie and Carter, I expect year over year improvement off of him.
Right.
He could take a big jump.
Could.
But even if he don't, he's going to take as long as he's healthy, he's going to take
He shows physical flashes that shows high upside.
Yeah, he just got to get the mental aspect.
Right. So he could put it all together. And, T. Lander, he's a guy who firmly believe will get better every year. But Spillman, I think, is the guy who didn't play last year. A young guy, played very little anyway.
Because of injuries, once again. I mean, he missed pretty much, if I remember correctly. Bob, you can correct me. If I recall correctly, he missed about all of fall practice, and then got healthy and was immediately through into some major not starting, but major roles. Soon as he got back, and then got injured again and missed the vast majority of the season. And once he got back, they threw him straight into the mix with a large number of snaps. I mean, when he's healthy, it was obvious they was going to get him on the field as much as possible.
Yeah, which is surprising considering how little time he had. That just shows you what their belief is in his talent. I believe Spillman's a starter for you this year. As long as he stays healthy, I think he's a starter. I think he probably takes T-Lander's spot, but I could be wrong on that. But I think all three will play a lot. And then you have Burns, who, another guy with injuries. They really liked what they saw out of him.
Yeah, he would have played last year.
Then you got some really young linebackers. The overall talent of that linebacker group has been its best it's been in a very, very long time.
Yeah. That's one room I think when they showed a gradual improvement in talent since Apple's taken over.
Yeah.
They've went out of the way to continuously work on that.
Oh yeah.
In that room, and I think they've done a good job of
Jaden Harmon, Jaden Perlotti. I think Gass is going to be probably a Leo, but dang,
well, you got the kid we flipped from Wisconsin too.
Yeah,
Haynes, yeah, they really like him too.
I mean, we've got a lot of talent there at linebacker. Then you move down the defensive line. Now that's the position that I don't expect to be better next year.
Yeah, we're going to see a little bit.
I don't
drop
see a huge drop off though.
No, I would say that it's going to be very similar.
Yeah,
we may not have the pass rusher that we had with Pierce, or the interior pass rusher that we had with Lott. But Lott didn't play a lot.
Yeah.
And Pierce did not play, honestly, didn't play as good as Joshua Josephs did last year.
Right. And Joseph, he's steadily gotten better. You got people like Jordan Ross who could make a big jump. You got
well, Elijah Herring rather than Leo also.
Yeah, I mean he's a guy who has shown flashes. I really don't see, and then you got the other side, which is basically intact. You got Weathersby who showed flashes.
Yeah, when he first walked on campus, he was one of the guys they were raving about.
Yeah. And
then he messed his hip up, missed that year, come back last year, and honestly was far from healthy. And I reckon he's 100% healthy though this year. I think we're going to see a difference maker. In Weathersby.
Yeah, I mean you got that spot. You got Tyree West, which I think I'll go ahead and say I've predicted him to have a bust out every year, and I hadn't really. He's gotten gradually better, but I think he does have that ability to be a game breaker. So I mean, the defensive line's going to be fine. Flip over on the offensive side, Tim. Let's stay on the offense. Let's stick with the offensive line.
Well, okay. Lost four starters in that spot. Normally you lose 4 starters, and I'm going to tell you right away that you're not going to be as good.
Right.
That said, offensive line is a spot that we could be better in. Honestly, I would lean that we are.
I agree.
Our one returner, Lance Hurd, was a big disappointment last year.
Yeah.
Turns out, though, he was a little overweight, out of shape when he got here.
Mm-hmm.
Then he got banged up and wasn't able to really condition himself to lose that weight and get in better shape. And played hurt all year last year. A healthy Lance Hurd, who's had a year to drop off some weight and get in better shape, we could see a really large jump from Lance Hurd.
We could. At the left guard spot, probably Pendleton, probably.
What's a Moy?
Moy, yeah. Moy's probably left guard, and Pendleton's probably right guard, probably. Moy, a definitely upgrade there. I think he could be very good.
I think Moore's going to be the best offensive lineman on the team.
I think he very well could be. You know,
He's really relevant. Excuse me, guys.
at the other side, right guard, Pendleton, I kind of look at him kind of in like a Carrick as like a wash as far as that talent level. I know one played left guard, one played right guard, but uh, and then you got right tackle. You know, uh,
The Campbell last year.
the guy stayed hurt.
Well, it wasn't just a hurt. He didn't get hurt. He had that knee issue, bone on bone, and he just couldn't play but a few snaps.
Yeah,
We never saw him, or rarely saw him at his top form. When he did, Campbell showed some ability. It's just you could not get that out of him because of the pain situation he was experiencing. And Larry Johnson come in, struggled in a couple of games,
right.
and then showed flashes in others. I thought we saw some improvement off of.
Right. I wish he
Larry
stuck around, but Sanders,
Yeah, everyone really thought that he was going to be a placeholder,
right.
for David Sanders.
David Sanders has I'll be shocked, honestly, if he's not a high first round draft pick when he leaves here. I think he's as close to a for sure thing as we've had in a long time. And just can't he put it all together mentally,
First year.
strength wise, first year, athletically. I think he'll have no problems. But potential off the line can be better.
Yeah, I can see 4 spots being better.
Yeah, I could.
That leads us to maybe the most important spot along with left tackle on this line of scrimmage, though, Bob, in Josh Heupel's offense, and that's that center spot.
Yeah. You lose Mays. That's tough. But I feel like they really like the guy that's filling that spot, Tim. I mean,
Yeah, I believe Satterwhite's taking that spot. He
and
probably has a little bit better base to work with,
right.
what Cooper Mays have.
And there's some options there. You could always slide
Pendleton.
Pendleton in the center, and then maybe have like Shamley Umaroff at guard or Jesse Perry at guard. So I think they got some options there on the interior if Satterwhite don't put it together early in the year. Let's go out to off wide receiver. That's to me is
That's the
maybe
position everybody's worried about, really.
it really is. Athletically, I think it's an improved unit. Um, Now lost a lot of experience there,
Yes, we did.
but we need. Uh, I
Well, as
think
far as production, though, would you say he's been a disappointment for the last 2 years?
absolutely,
So the bar is kind of low for what these guys have to perform at.
yeah. So I mean, Matthews could have a huge year. I mean, I expect it will. Brazel, I expect him to make a pretty good jump this year.
Seems to be a common thing under Pope, not to do much your first year, but then to show a good step forward in
Yeah.
year number 2.
Staley, Travis Smith. We got some talented guys.
Well, Darius Jackson made a play
Darius.
everyone remembers that play he made in the spring game.
Yeah, beautiful.
And he's not just on one that's like a one play guy. I mean, I think that's one of the happier surprises for the coaching staff.
Yeah.
For Darius Jackson.
Yeah, he's outdone his ranking.
Yeah. The room is thin,
Yes.
but I believe the coaches are very happy with the guys they have in that room.
Right.
As evidenced by not panicking and overpaying for another wide receiver.
Right.
I mean, that's really where you put your money where your mouth is, and their money has been in. We're not just taking a guy
Take a guy.
and overpaying to get this guy.
Yeah.
If you can help us, it's one thing.
Right.
But I just don't think they saw nobody in the spring portal that was better than what they had on their team.
I think injuries will play a big role throughout this team, as it does every year, and probably more so this year than most, but especially at that wide receiver position.
But I'm like you, Bob. I can see overall improved play from the
Good.
wide receiver
Good.
group.
Let's go to tight ends. Looks like Ketselman
They had a schedule on
on the
that.
schedule. So you got him back, and for the third year in a row, I'm gonna predict Ethan Davis breakout.
You're consistent, Bob.
Consistent.
Now, if he was as consistent as you are, he'd already made a role on this team.
Well, I think he's got two things going for him. One, he's a year older, and strength is, I think, physical part of the game is what's held him back.
Oh, without doubt. On the
Athletically,
leaving part,
he's got the ability.
he got it.
So I feel like the physical, a year older, getting stronger, and I feel like if the offensive line is better, you won't have to have him and Kinselman stand in as much to block. You know,
They actually get into some pass routes.
Yeah, I think I held back the tight end group some. So I think the tight end group could do better.
Stays did not really have a impact.
Not like what we hoped. Yeah. So tight end position could be better. Let's go to running backs. Now, you lose Sampson, obviously. That's a big blow.
Yeah, I mean, he produced on the field. I mean,
yeah, obviously.
we're not going to pretend he didn't. But if I had a hot take this year, it'd be that we don't see a drop off.
And it's more than just the running back players. Bishop, I think, is going to make a jump this year. Lewis, I think, could make a jump. You got the freshman Baker coming in, which physically looks ready to play.
Mm-hmm. And then Morris,
who looks like another jitterbug, exciting kind of guy.
Yeah. And of course, we brought in the transfer Star Thomas.
Right. So I think overall the talent's there on that team. Sure, you're going to lose Sampson, but I think the thing that could make this running game as good or potentially better is improve offensive line play, and we're going to go to the next position that could make this thing better. Better balance in the offense at quarterback could make the running game better.
I mean, because, look, ceiling-wise, I'm not going to sit here and tell anybody that we have someone that has the ceiling of Nico for this season.
Right.
If Nico had improved the way we would hoped that he would improve, we don't have anyone on the roster, I don't think, this season that could have matched that. But if you just look about how Nico performed last season,
right,
I'm not sure that we don't, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to just blindly say that we do, but Merklinger's got talent. George McIntyre's got talent. Aguilar, I'll just be honest with you, and I've told this on our previous podcast. When we first signed him, I thought, okay, this is a guy we've put in here to compete, older guy who will hopefully, if he doesn't win the job, is competitive. But after watching some film review of him, I was impressed with him. I think the guy could make a huge jump. And I think it's, like we talked about in the last podcast, I think it's going to come down to him and Merklinger, and it could be a lot like the Milton Hooker situation a couple of years ago whenever you give the ball to one of them to start the year.
But the other guy
is waiting there. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I like both those guys. I feel a lot better about Aguilar after watching film of him than I did before.
Mm-hmm.
And the biggest thing is I think he could be fit in Josh Heupel's offense.
I think so. I
don't think
it's a perfect match for him.
Yeah. I don't think it's trying to take a square piece and force it into a round hole.
Yeah.
His game could really translate and improve the offense. I don't want to be blindly optimistic.
Yeah, we might have our orange glasses on a little bit.
A little bit, we do.
But it's not.
But I've seen people the opposite of that don't believe we'll improve at any spot on the team because of the guys we lost. Well, you know what? We lose guys every single year.
Yeah.
Everyone does, and some years you're better at spots. But I think wrapping it up, Bob, I guess let's put it in categories. I expect to be better at defensive back. I expect to be better at linebacker.
Yeah.
I expect to be better at tight end. I expect to be better at offensive line, I feel.
I think so.
I think we could be better at production at quarterback.
Right.
I think we could be better production wise because it kind of goes hands in hand at the wide receiver spot.
Right.
Um, I don't expect a big drop off as you normally would uh, at the running back spot.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and that's partially due to for me anyway, it's partially due to the fact that this offense, um, every single year seems like under high ball averages about 5 yards a carry for the team.
Right.
Um, Last year they just averaged 5. Um, it's the scheme opens up a lot of holes for the running backs, and they're pulling the way they pull along the offensive line really opens up some runs. But and I don't see a big drop off or one, hardly at all really, for the defensive line as long as we stay healthy at defensive tackle.
Right. I think that is, you want to tell me what is the key to this season, Tim? And I think it's injuries. We need a good injury year where we don't have a lot of injuries because I feel like I like our starting lineup and we got a real chance to be a better football team this coming season. But if we have a lot of injuries at defensive line, that could hurt us. We lose an offensive tackle, uh, Hurd or Sanders. We could be hurt. Um, we lose a wide receiver or two. We could be hurt. Uh, we lose a tight end. We lose uh, a safety or two. We're hurt.
Yeah, and I don't think necessarily that is an issue of quality depth. I think we do have talented depth.
Yeah.
I just don't expect every young player that we to be ready.
Yeah.
I think you'll see some young players when you got 3 or 4 or 5.
Mhm.
You'll see 1 or 2 that are ready, and that's what we need
Right.
for that starting unit,
Yeah.
and sometimes for the backup. But if you get down to third, somebody in the third in rotation, um, talent there, yes.
Yes.
Ready, probably not.
Right. Right.
Um,
I agree with that. I agree with that. And that's pretty much most of these positions. I feel decent about some tackles we've got on the team, offensive tackles, but I feel like they're just not ready from a physical or mental standpoint.
yeah,
When they're a junior or senior on this, I think we'll be, very happy.
very happy with them.
Yeah. Same thing at wide receiver, and other spots. But
And one other spot I'd like to say that I think we'll be as good or better at will be special teams. I think we'll have as good a special teams as anybody in the country this season.
I wouldn't doubt that a bit. Yeah.
Could win us a ball game. I could see Boo Carter taking one against the house. Maybe being the difference in an Alabama or a Florida game.
Well, that's something else, Tim. We didn't mention a little while ago. Offensively, another guy who can make a big step
Was
is Boo.
Boo Carter?
Yeah.
Yes.
We didn't mention him in the wide receiver group, but he could definitely be a guy who, and I don't expect a whole lot of snaps out of him, but I believe he could be a dynamic guy when he is in the game and when he does touch the ball.
Yeah. Anytime Boo Carter touches the ball, you hold your breath.
Yeah, good things can happen.
Good things can happen. I could see him taking a little slant, picking up critical first downs, keep drives alive. Something we really struggled with last year, keeping drives alive.
Yeah. So, we just, since the ESPN thing, they did drop us out of the top 25, but we just want to make sure y'all realize that we got a lot of young guys who can make jumps, and it ain't like just don't think this season's going to be a throwaway season.
No, I think it's just
We just need a little bit of help.
It's way up in the air.
It's way up in the air. That's the problem.
I could see this team having a pretty wide range. I don't think we're going to have a 6-6 season, anything like that. I believe the talent level on this team is way too good for that.
Yeah.
And our schedule is manageable. This team still has a high ceiling if we hit on a couple of spots like quarterback.
I will throw something negative out there, though. If I had to throw something negative out there that I wonder if we improved on, did we improve from a coaching standpoint? We will see. I feel like we needed to make some changes in the offensive scheme. Supposedly we did. Time will tell on that. I've said before, I wasn't a huge fan of Pope. I feel like we haven't had a guy who, like you said earlier, has performed up to expectations year one. And so he's going to be, this is a make or break season for him this year. Joey Halsley, is he the right guy at offensive coordinator?
Yeah, both of those are legitimate things, and I know a lot of people really have issues with Ellerby too,
Right.
but I think we'll be fine
I
at
think
his
so.
spot.
And there's always that questions about the secondary coaching, but I feel like we're okay there.
Well, we pulled in the guy that's been defensive coordinator at three
NFL.
of his stops in the NFL,
Yeah.
who's going to pretty much take over the safety coaching
Yeah, it does.
and allow Banks to kind of roam around the entire defense a little bit more. Um, so I mean, I expect quality coaching at the safety spot this year.
Yeah, hopefully the former offensive coordinator at Oklahoma, which the name escapes me right at the moment.
Yeah, the close friend of
Yeah,
Heupel's was in his wedding party.
yeah, I can't believe I can't think of his name right now.
Yeah, but the big thing with him is, can he bring in some solid ideals?
Yes.
Because we're not going to see a massive change in this offense.
No, we're not. I
But
don't expect
we are going to see some tweaks this year.
we could. And how big are the tweaks?
Yeah.
That's going to be key.
How much was needed last year? How much was missing open receivers holding that offense back versus defenses, quote, figuring it out?
Right. And that's something we've had some questions about. Well, guys, remember to like, subscribe, and comment. Hit that notification bell. We appreciate you greatly, and hope you enjoyed the episode. And let us know what you think. Go Vols.
Go Vols.